YouTube people, talk about the perfect storm from the content gods. Jeff Wilson plus PSA plus upcharges. I mean, it just writes itself. Of course, we had to do a video about this. My goodness. Talk about low hanging fruit and the ability to clickbait the hell out of something. You have all the elements right there for you. Plus, on this particular topic, we have the receipts. We have the answers. If you don't know what's going on, Jeff Wilson posted on Twitter, which you never know. Everything could go sideways when he posts anything. An email from PSA about getting upcharged. It was a $4,000 upcharge, and it was a $100,000 card, according to this. I don't know what card it was. I don't know if he ever says or not. But the important part here is Jeff posting, hey, I got upcharged by PSA. This is fantastic. This tweet got 227,000 views at time of recording, 363 comments, and people were big mad. Mostly at PSA, a little bit at Jeff because it's Jeff. And then this has kind of spun over the last 24 hours into a hobby-wide discussion of PSA's pricing policies. And Jeff followed it up with a few additional tweets here, essentially saying they didn't just grade my card, they added $50,000 in value to it. And then, throws down the gauntlet. If you really hate PSA Upcharges that much, pick another company. And spoilers for a little bit later, he's not 100% wrong. Before I go on any sort of mini rant or whatever, we have an answer to this question. Why does PSA charge the way that they do? We have an answer directly from the source. I asked Nat Turner this exact question when I interviewed him almost a year ago. And we're going to go to the clip. It's about 4 minutes long. I posted a 60-second version of it on Shorts and IG Reel, but we'll give the full length of the question and the answer. So let's fire that up, and then we'll come right back. And I know you've done tons of different interviews over the years, like the whole declare value upcharge thing. So can you basically break down the reason why a base Luca is $20 the grade and an 86 Fleer is, let's just call it $1,000 the grade or whatever? Part of the answer is, I guess, it's the insurance versus the PSA guarantee. Like, where does that extra fee, where is that going for the customer?
Yeah, I mean, look, businesses, you have a choice. You can price based on your cost, or you can price based on the value you create. And most businesses are the latter. PSA is no different. I would argue that Luca card is worth more thanks to PSA more than anything. We're putting our name behind it. There's a grade guarantee that we don't collect insurance premiums on after you get the card back. That, today we probably spent 180 grand buying cards back. I've approved the buybacks. We've spent well over $10 million since I got here buying cards back that were fake, that we graded historically. And our only chance at collecting an insurance premium on that's the initial grading fee. But I would argue the biggest reason is the value pricing. I mean, if you have just to put a extreme example on it, if you have a raw Honus Wagner card, is that card worth more raw or in a PSA 2 holder? And the answer is the latter. So, I feel it's very, transparent and deserved and not just us, for any company that creates value for an asset to, be compensated for that value. And again, not the least of which is we're guaranteeing, and we have to buy it back at then market value at any point in the future. So, I mean, it's that's a pretty big, liability that we're carrying. So that's why.
Yeah. And that we both know that the PSA guarantee does, I think, carry a lot of weight, and is probably a big factor on why, especially maybe not necessarily on the lower end, but on the higher end, can kind of justify those prices if you know, like, okay, I have this little insurance policy behind me if something is amiss with this card.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a huge deal. I mean, like I said, I'm shaking my head because I can, it just kills me every time I see one of these cards. And so, even more so that they were graded since I've been here, because we've put so much effort into building content and process and specialization to catch these things. And it happens, slips through. It's a lot less frequent than it used to be, but like, these 90s basketball cards, man, like I know this stuff well. Like, you grade the damn thing is 99% real. In fact, the card is real. It just has a fake serial number, you know, like it's so tricky. And then it's like $250,000. So, and like I look back and like, back in the day when we weren't as good at pricing, like, we bought a card back the other day for 150 grand. And I look back, we graded it in 2012 and we got $12 to grade it. So like that's the reason right there. Like we should have, like that, that's not a good business. If you're pricing, yourself at cost and then but you're holding yourself accountable, indefinitely at a floating market value. But again, guarantee or not, the main point is that, value creation is a big thing. Look at auction houses. They charge, 20% buyer's premium. How's that any different?
So there it is. You might not like it, but that is the answer right from the tippy top. Nat Turner, CEO of Collectors Universe, answering directly why they price the way that they do. And yeah, he talked a lot about insurance. I don't want to put words in Nat's mouth, but the long and the short of it is because they can. Because they can. Their pricing is not new. It has been like this for a very long time. And guess what? They grade millions of cards a month. They're the number one grading company by a mile, by multiple miles. And while people like to complain about it, which is fine, a massive amount of people still continue to use them. If you don't like it, don't submit to them. If you don't like it, pay the same. I'm going to give you two examples why PSA can charge this way. Here's the first one. Lucas Silver Prism and a PSA 10 sells for $1,500 to $1,600. In a PSA 9, it's $450. In a BGS 9.5, which is the equivalent grade to a PSA 10, it sells for $865. Basically half of what a PSA 10 sells for. That right there, folks, is why PSA can charge based off the value. Because they create more value and people are willing to pay the extra money to grade with PSA to unlock the maximum value out of their card. I'll give you another example. Let's head over to the Pikachu streets. Let's look at some Charizards. Here we have the Charizard EX out of 151, one of the more popular Pokemon cards that exist. A CGC 10 just recently sold for $563. And remind you, CGC does pretty well in TCG. So $560 for a CGC 10 of one of the more popular Charizards out there. A PSA 10 sells for about $1,200. It's as simple as that, folks. There it is in a nutshell. It's that easy. If you don't like the way PSA prices their product / service, don't use it. You don't like their turnaround times, don't use it. You really want to change things, pay $1,200 for this card. Boom. It's that easy. Pay $1,500 for a BGS 9.5 Lucas Silver. If you truly despise everything that PSA stands for, that's how you fix it. This right here, these right here are honestly probably more important than actually submitting cards to them. When you say like speak with your wallet when you're mad at a company about something, I actually think the thing that matters more isn't so much choosing to submit or not submit with them. It's this. It's the secondary market prices of cards. So if you want to vote with your wallet, buy CGC 10s, BGS 95s, SGC 10s, whoever else, whatever other grading company you want to insert here, buy their equivalent grades for the same price that PSA stuff sells for. You'll solve the problem real quick if enough folks do it. But they won't. You won't do it. Not enough people will do it. Maybe a couple will. I doubt it. Everyone wants to get mad and rant and rave about why PSA charges the way that they do, while at the same time, a good majority of those people are filling out PSA paperwork and dropping a box off at USPS to ship it into them. That's what they're doing with their right hand, while their left hand is typing on Twitter or Instagram talking about how much PSA sucks and how much they got screwed over by them. Upcharges, people aren't going to want to hear this. I'm going to get hate for this. I'm going to get called a PSA. I get called a PSA shill all the time. I don't even have a promo code for them like some folks, and I get called the shill. PSA upcharges aren't a scam. It's not hidden. You know what you're signing up for when you submit cards to them. You know the possibility of an upcharge is there. Spoilers, if you submit at the appropriate level, you probably are not going to get upcharged. If you don't like any of these things, if you don't like their turnaround times, if you don't like their customer service, if you don't like their pricing, send your cards to Beckett. Send your cards to CGC. Send your cards to SGC. You have other options out there. Oh, but wait. You want to sell your card for the most money possible. The market has decided PSA sells for the most. And if you want to unlock the maximum potential of that card, PSA has decided we will max out the value of the card if it grades out of 10. But guess what? We're going to take a little cut because we added that value to it. So yeah, you're paying extra to grade with them. But guess what? They are, in some cases, doubling the value of the card over another slab. Now, you can think that's stupid. You could think that this in a CGC 10 selling for 50% of this in a PSA 10 is the most idiotic thing in the world, and you would be correct. You are not wrong. But not enough people think that. People buy the label, not the card. This is nothing new. We have been talking about this since the pandemic. I've done plenty of videos on this. This is not a new topic of discussion, folks. The secondary market value of cards and what the grading company does with it is one of the most important drivers. It's not the end all be all. There are plenty of people that grade with their favorite companies because they like the slab, they like the customer service, they like whatever other aspect from that company. But a majority of people are grading to sell. And right now, and for the past 3 to 5 years, one company has commanded the most money. And they're taking their pound of flesh when they perform that service. Sure, the insurance plays in the part of it. And it's not just the shipping home insurance. It's the insurance while a more valuable card is in their possession, while it's being shipped, and as Nat mentioned a lot in that clip, the buyback guarantee. And the buyback guarantee matters. Beckett does not have a buyback guarantee. Good luck if you have an issue with a Beckett card that they graded improperly and you find out about it in the future. you are probably not going to get a check out of them. Or if you do, you're going to have to fight your ass off for it. And there's a decent chance that it's not at current market value. CGC, to give them credit, does have a buyback guarantee. SGC does not. Peter always said he would take care of it if something ever cropped up. And guess what? He did. Guess who also doesn't work there anymore? Peter. Now what? I don't know. It hasn't really come up since then. PSA, you might have to work for it a little bit. I personally know people that have gotten large checks from PSA for errors. And some of this stuff, as Nat mentioned in the video, dates back years. Some of it's under his watch. Some of these cards were graded prior to his folks taking over the business. It doesn't matter. The PSA guarantee's been around for a while. They have to cut the check. And that PSA guarantee is part of the reason why on the ultra high end, their slabs, in my opinion, command a lot of the money that they do. So the long and the short of it is, PSA charges more to grade your card based on value, partially because they can, partially because they are the ones, because the card is in their holder, adding that extra value to the card. Whether you agree with that or not makes no difference. The secondary market says so. And also a little bit of insurance and guarantee, which are kind of one and the same thing. It's an all-encompassing thing. That's why they do it. If you don't like it, go to the competition. Beckett, CGC exists. Yeah, you're going to sell your card for less money. You are, in most cases. Unless you get super lucky and pull a pristine 10 or a black label, and good luck. Unless it's a Topps Now card or a one-piece card. And a CGC pristine 10 might creep you closer to PSA 10 value. Might even get you over PSA 10 value in some stuff. But once again, good luck. The gem rates on that stuff are extremely low. Your percentages of that actually happening are extremely low. And I get it. PSA has not had the best year in regards to customer service stuff. They've been backlogged most of the year. The Collector Club specials have sucked. There has been a lot of people complaining about grading inconsistency. And I do wish that they did more on some of this stuff. For what they charge, we should 100% have graders' notes on every single card. There is no reason why we shouldn't for the prices that they are charging currently for cards. I am 100% with you on that. I've been banging that drum for years before they even had graders' notes. Because of the myriad of things going on over there between pricing, lack of specials, and turnaround times, I have graded the least amount of cards that I ever have in 2025. My last PSA submission, I actually had to go look because I forgot. Not counting comic books, my last card PSA submission was January of 2025. I have hardly submitted anything this year for grading, mostly because of the turnaround times and a little bit because of the pricing. The value's just not there on a lot of the stuff that I would send in. Now, maybe that changes in a few weeks when I start ripping boxes of Topps basketball. Maybe I pull some stuff that I want to send in. We'll see. Take a risk on it. Make some content. But I myself have spoken that way. I have graded very, very few cards with them this year. I've graded more cards in 2025 with CGC than I have PSA. So for everyone that wants to call me a PSA shill, I've graded more cards with CGC than I have PSA. And those were on site at the National. I don't remember if I had any send-in submissions with CGC or not, but that's just how few cards I've graded this year. I've sold most of my stuff raw instead. I've just pivoted that direction. It's not worth dealing with it. And the few stuff that I did grade, I sent it to CGC, and I accepted that the card was going to be harder to move in that slab. I knew that going in. But I paid $20 to get a $1,000 card graded, and I had it back in my hands in a day because I did it at the National on site. But I've spoken with my wallet that way. I don't like their current turnaround times. I don't like their current pricing. So guess what? I haven't used them. Will I use PSA in the future? Absolutely. I dropped off comic books at New York Comic Con. A little bit of a different story. Apples and oranges. Their pricing's a little bit different. Their turnaround times are a little bit different. But on the card side of the world, I 100% will use PSA again. I know that I will. I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't. I will most likely, assuming that I can hit anything halfway decent, potentially send some top stuff to them when the basketball product comes out. But that is why they charge what they charge and how they charge. You might not like it, but you have other choices out there. You are not forced to use PSA. They are the biggest and baddest grading company in the space. They are not the only. And let's be honest, they have spent the money to position themselves there. They have opened offices all over the world. They have opened multiple offices in this country. They have built out the PSA offers program, eBay integration, all sorts of stuff. They have done more just this year, or in the last calendar year, than all the other grading companies combined with new features and offerings. That is why, that's a big reason why they continue to maintain the stranglehold that they have in the grading space. And spoilers, I don't see it changing anytime soon. Beckett, I don't think has the ability to spend the money. CGC, I don't think wants to spend the money. Is the opportunity there to knock them off their pedestal? Possibly. I don't know how much customer loyalty they have at the present moment outside of the cards sell for the most. You know, I had an interesting discussion with a hobby friend just today about this very topic. And we went back and forth, and I agreed with a lot of the stuff that he was saying. Their brand loyalty, I don't know if it is as good as they think that it is. I think a lot of people are tied to PSA strictly because of the value on the secondary market. Now, that is a massive factor. A massive factor. We talked about that earlier in this video. If that ever would whittle away, would people still grade with PSA just for the enjoyment of it? I don't know. That's where things get tricky. But the trickier question is who is in position to spend the hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars it would take to even compete with them? I don't know that anyone's out there. That's all I got. Curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Catch you on the next one. Peace.